For the next step, we're going to be preparing the top zip. So we're basically just going to be adding the zipper tabs. You want to make sure that your zip is right side up, meaning the head of your zip should be facing upwards. And then you just place the zipper tab on one end of your zip, sew it down, and then you just go ahead to fold it, and then it adds a little bit of seam on it, just the way you can see. So you just fold it and then you go again. This is like a top stitch. Now that we are done with that, we're going to be moving on to the next step, which is assembling the bag. So you have your two main pieces. You work with one first, the one without the zip, and then you're going to place you're going to place your top zip on it. First, we're going to measure 1/2 inch on one side and then 1/2 inch on the other side, just at the top. And then you take your top zip. What you really want to do is that you want to place it in between the marks that you just made. And here is where it becomes a little bit critical. You see this zip, you need to follow the direction of your zip. Some people don't mind, some people don't care, but I prefer that all these zips are going to one direction. So you just try to figure it out just the way you see, making sure that they are all in the same direction. The heads of the zip are facing the same direction. And then you're going to place it. The right side of your zip should be on top of the right side of your leather. I don't know if that makes sense. So you're basically putting it right sides together. So the right side of your exterior is facing up. So you need to do it so that the right side of your zip is facing the exterior. Okay, and then you're going to attach it, making sure that it's on the side. They are aligned. To make this process easier, you can go ahead to find the middle of your zip just by bending it over and then putting a little mark, and then you place it middle to middle, while making sure that your zip is in between, is still in that line, that 1/2 inch line that you marked from the sides. So here I'm just going to pin it. And then I'm going to go ahead to pin it all the way through. And I'm going to do a simple basting stitch at that top there, just to hold it together. This is not the main sewing. This is just a very simple stitch. And we are going to start on one end of the zipper tab, and we're going to end on the other end of the zipper tab. So yeah, this is our very simple basting stitch. And you can see the way our zip is placed. The front of the zip is facing the front of our exterior piece. So next we're going to bring in the lining for this. Again, you need to make sure that your zip heads are facing the same direction. It just gives your work a little more originality to it. Okay, make sure that your handles are slipping perfectly. You might get a little bulk from this. It is completely fine. It is okay. You just have to try to maneuver. We just need the top to stay perfectly. So again, I'm going to go to pin. You can go ahead to use your binder clips here to hold them, and then after pinning the center, I'll just go ahead to pin the rest, the top, the rest of the top. Okay, so I pinned the top and now I'm going to sew. While sewing this, the outside part of my pressed foot is going to be just against or kind of on top of the zip bone, okay, because we want to get as close as we possibly can to the bone of our zip. And you might want to backstitch here because we are still going to turn it over. We don't want any loose stitches. So you take your time and you just go ahead to sew. To make this process a little bit easier for you, you do not have to be in a hurry. Just take your time and and sew through, okay? So you don't have to be in a hurry, you just need to take your time. And when you are sewing, you can feel where the bone of your zip passes through. So you can just do that as you sew, okay? It might get a bit bulky when you get to the zipper tab. So you can just do it little by little. And then when you get to where the head of your zip is, you can slide it over. Because we put zipper tabs on this zip, so we can't remove the head. But there are other designs where you can remove the head of your zip to ensure that you sew smoother. Okay, now that I'm done with the sewing, I can remove my pins. You can remove your binding clips, whatever it is that you use to hold yours. And next thing that we want to do is that we want to top stitch. And the way we're going to top stitch is that we go to the back, and you see the way I'm turning it downwards towards the exterior. This is how we are going to top stitch, okay? It makes it very easy, trust me. So we're just going to bend it over just like this towards the exterior, just the bits, just the seam allowance that we sewn. So it will look something like this by the time we are done. So this is how it's going to look basically. I'm going to go ahead to use gum to hold mine. It's just easier. If you're using fabric, you can use your fabric glue. So I applied the gum already, I allowed it to dry, and then I'm just going to bend it over. You can see that I'm not bending the whole lining. I'm just bending that seam allowance between the zip, the exterior piece, and then the lining piece. Just the seam allowance is what I'm bending over. And this is what we have after. So now I'm going to top stitch. Don't forget to do your back stitch, please. It might get a little tricky. It might get a little tricky when you get to that zipper tab because of the bulk. So you just have to try. I'm just going to speed this up a little bit. So when you get to where your zip head is, just slide it over. And then you continue. So this is what we have after. You see, we already did the top stitch. And automatically, after doing this top stitch, your lining piece just flows by itself. It just slips by itself automatically. I can't explain it. Unlike the way it was before. So it just slips by itself. And then you see that all of our zips are in the same direction. Then we'll repeat the same thing with the other exterior piece. Now that we are putting two handles together, it's actually going to be a bit bulky, but you have to try. And it's just the seam that we want to do. Again, make sure that your first exterior, the front of your first exterior is facing the front of your second exterior, and then you go again and then you mark half an inch from one end and half an inch on the other end, and you also mark your middle. Okay, so it matches up with the middle of your zip, makes it easier. And then we repeat the whole process we did the first time. So if you place it like this, your zip, front, the top of your zip is going to be facing the top of your new exterior piece that you are doing now, which is exactly what we want. Okay, so we are going to go in with this basting stitch first. You can go ahead to just sew everything, your zip and your lining and your exterior piece together, but I feel basting first makes it a little bit stronger. Okay, makes it stay in place. And then after doing your basting stitch, you go in with your next lining. Make sure that the top of your lining pieces are facing the same. So the way it's placed now, the top of the lining pieces are the same, they are facing each other. The top of your exterior pieces are also facing each other. So I'm going to go ahead to pin this all the way through. Making sure that your lining pieces are on the same sides. Basically, the bottom part will not be the same because of that very bulky area where the handles are, but the sides, you can make sure that the sides are okay. So I'm also going to pin the sides, and then I'm going with the stitch again. When you are sewing, feel your way through. You can feel the bone. You can actually feel the bone as you sew. And then you can adjust your zipper head so it's easy for you. Adjusting it like this is a little bit hard and a little bit tricky. So you can raise your presser foot and try to adjust it. Okay, so we already did that, and now I applied gum again just like we did the other side, and basically making the seam allowance slip so I can top stitch on the other side. So this is what it looks like. You know, when you are top stitching, you are not top stitching your lining piece with it. Okay, so I just basically want to repeat it. Now I am simply just going to top stitch the exterior along with the seam allowances under. And there we have it. So now you can see that your lining piece is just slips and there is no bulk. Okay, there is no bulk. This is basically what we have now. So you have two lining pieces together and then two exterior pieces together. Next, we have to sew all around it. So I went ahead to pin all the necessary places. Usually, some people will just sew the sides of the lining and then leave a space where they can turn from the lining that on the base. But based on the way we did it, we're going to turn it out from that side pocket. And when you are placing it, ensure, let me just zoom into this lace a bit. Ensure that your seams are matching each other. You can see the way the exterior piece, they are there matching each other. And then your zipper tabs is facing the direction of your lining. Automatically, it kind of faces the direction of your lining by itself. So ensure that it's facing the direction of your lining. And then your exterior pieces, the seams are aligned perfectly. So I'm going to do this all around, and then I'm going to sew everywhere, okay? So the bottom, the sides, yeah, so like I was saying, some people will leave just a little bit of gap at the base, but we're not doing that. We're going to sew everything because we're going to turn the whole bag through that zip. So you need to make sure that your inner zip is opened. Please make sure that your inner zip is open before you completely close the bag. Otherwise, you would have sewed yourself out of your bag. So ensure that your inner zip is opened, and then your main zip, which is your top zip, is opened just a little bit, enough for you to also slide through your inner zip. So I'm sewing with the allowance that I had chosen for it. When you get to this zipper tab part, you want to get as close as you can, but you do not want to sew on top of your zipper tab. You can feel it, okay? You want to get as close as you can, but not on top. Please do not sew on top of your zipper tabs. Now, when you are able to pass there, you can also back stitch. It's a bit tricky, but when you're able to pass there, when you start sewing your lining, you want your lining allowance, your seam allowance to be bigger, so that by the time you are done sewing, your lining piece will be smaller than your main exterior, so that it sits perfectly inside. So if you are doing about quarters of an inch in your exterior piece as your seam allowance, when you are now sewing for your lining when you're sewing for your lining, I'm sorry, I don't know why I'm stuttering. When you're sewing your lining, you need to do like about half an inch, and then I'm also going to sew the base. Just going to sew everywhere around it. If there's any question concerning that zipper tab, please ask, so you don't get too confused. So now that I've sewed all sides, we only have this part. And if your pattern and everything is complete, when you're sewing, it's going to be in a straight line just like this. Sometimes, it is not always in a straight line, I'll be honest with you. Sometimes it doesn't come out to be in a straight line, but it will be straight enough for you to sew what you want to sew. So that is what I want to do. First, I'm going to just cover up this base seam allowance, because I used half an inch on that base. You can as well cut it off, but if you don't want to cut it off, when you're doing yours, when you're folding, just cut a notch there just a little bit, because we are going to be sewing this base to the other side, so we don't want too much bulk. So now that I am done with that, let us completely cover up our little boxes. So I'm going to place them perfectly, and then I'm going to sew. So I open the seams at the side so it matches with the seam at the base. So you can peg, you can pin, whatever it is. You can use your clips to hold them in place, and you do it round. When you do it on the exterior, you also have to do it on your lining piece. Again, before you close your bag, ensure that your zip for your inner pocket is opened, please. Because this is the lining, I'm just going to pin it and hold it in place. You can also as well go in to puff out your pieces, so it's easier for you to pin together or clip together. And then now we are going to sew. For your lining pieces, again, I would advise that you make it bigger. Your seam allowances should be bigger. So you can use 1/2 inch for your lining pieces, and then you can use 1/4 inch for your exterior pieces, just so that your lining piece is slightly smaller than your main piece. So you open up. It might get a little bit bulky or tricky, but you can do it. You just open it up a bit. It is important that you backstitch while you are here. So I'm doing it on all 4 sides. Open it up again so that seam matches the one that is at the base. We opened up the one at the base. Okay, so now that we are done sewing all corners, we can start to turn the bag. I'll tell you, this is not an easy process, honestly. So you need to make sure that your top zip is completely open. So if it wasn't, you need to slide it open, and then you start at one side of your exterior piece, and then just start folding it bit by bit. This is why you need to make sure that you backstitch where you are supposed to backstitch, so that your stitchings are strong and they don't start breaking from the pressure of turning out this bag. So you just keep doing it bit by bit. It is not easy. This part of the video is is sped up, so I was actually taking my time to do it. Don't be in a hurry, please. Take your time to do it. Okay, so it's starting to come out. Just keep bringing it out carefully. Handles are out. Now what you need to do, we're not done yet, is that you need to put your hand back in and start pushing out all of your edges, every part, just like this. And then when you get to this zipper tab, this one is going to be a bit difficult. Doable, but a little bit difficult. So you just try to push as much as you can, because we want that zipper tab to show. You can see it's already showing. We want that zipper tab to show. I'm going to use a pen. You can use anything that you want to use, but let it be kind of like a blunt edge so that it doesn't pierce through your materials. And here we go. You do not have to use a different color of lining. It's just what I like. I like using different kinds of linings. It's just a personal thing. So you don't necessarily have to use this color of lining. You can use the one that matches your faux leather or leather, whatever you're using. This is just how I like my bag. I like to experiment with different colors. So you just bring it out, push it out a bit, and then you put in your pockets back in, and now you just arrange your lining pieces inside. And that is it. So I'm going to clean all of these marks I made with this pen on the exterior piece. But basically that's it. You can go in with a false bottom for this bag. But yeah, this is basically it. Use your hands to arrange and slip everywhere. If you're having difficulty with your zip, you can use a little bit of machine oil. So now that we're done with that, we need to close up our pockets. So I'm just going to trim this side so that it doesn't show by the time I sew up the pockets. So we're going to close it. This is why you needed it to be a folded edge. Just close it carefully. This process is the last process. If you know you're no longer putting anything inside the bag, that it will require you to open up that part. So this is the very, very last part, okay? Anything else you want to put under or inside your bag, you have to do that before you sew up your inner pockets. And then you carefully place it too. And that is it. So I'm just straightening the lining piece and popping out that zipper tab just a little bit. Yeah, that's it. It's supposed to be like that. So you are supposed to have a little bit of hole, just a little bit, okay, on that zipper tab place. And here it is, the completed bag.